Good afternoon. Thank you for your attendance at today's press conference. My name is Justin Schawl. I'm the Chief of Police of the Indiana, Pennsylvania Police Department. Joining me at the conference today, from my right to left, Mike Dunn, Director of Operations, Citizens Ambulance Service, Officers Geraci and Miller from IUP's Police Department, Kayla Marshall and Natasha Leidick, representatives of the Alice Paul House, District Attorney Robert Manzi and First Assistant Attorney, District Attorney Dennis Clark from the Indiana County District Attorney's Office, Lieutenant Eric Slavinsky from the Indiana Police Department, Detective Sergeant Jeff Atherton from the Indiana Borough Police Department, and Detective Andrew Perry from the Indiana Borough Police Department. On Wednesday, January 26th at 8:49 p.m., Indiana Borough patrol officers provided an emergency response to a residence in the 1100 block of Oak Street in reaction to a 911 report of a male banging, pounding on a door at that location. While responding, officers learned that the male gained access into the residence and that the caller would be hiding in a rear room. Two Indiana Borough police officers arrived and could hear a female screaming from inside the residence. Understanding that the female voice was in distress, officers kicked open a front door that was previously locked and proceeded through the residence until a victim, a suspect, and a witness were located inside the same room. An obviously injured female ran behind police officers and ultimately outside the residence when they entered the room. The male suspect was placed at gunpoint, given orders that were immediately followed, and was placed in handcuffs. A fixed blade style knife was recovered from the floor of the rear room. The witness remained seated inside the room and was not physically injured or otherwise involved in the attack. An Indiana Borough Police Sergeant and an officer with the Indiana University of Pennsylvania Police Department who had arrived to assist worked together to provide emergency life-saving care to the victim, who was now in the front yard of her residence, of the residence. The victim had multiple obvious stab wounds and was experiencing uncontrolled, life-threatening bleeding from her left arm. Police officers routinely carry tourniquets and other products to stop life-threatening bleeding, and those items were deployed in that life-saving effort. Our partners at Citizens Ambulance Service were on scene within minutes, gave advanced and professional medical care to the victim, and provided rapid transport for emergency care. During the overnight hours, criminal investigators were supported by the Indiana University of Pennsylvania Police Department and the Indiana County District Attorney's Office and the Alice Paul House of Indiana County. The victim is a 28-year-old female who resides in Indiana Borough. She suffered 5 stab wounds, 1 to her face, 1 to the chest, and 3 to her left arm. We will not be releasing her name, but will report that she is conscious and alert, has been in contact with Indiana Borough criminal investigators, and is expected to recover. The suspect was identified as Detroyan Tresman Hobbs, a 30-year-old male from Baltimore, Maryland. I have presented the order of events that they unfolded before us, but there is an important and tragic set of circumstances that led us to 8:49 p.m. that are equally as important to understand the violence that occurred and must serve as a caution to everyone in our community. Mr. Hobbs and the victim met each other online 2 months ago, and he traveled to Indiana Borough from Baltimore, Maryland, so they could meet on January 6th. Within 2 days, our victim recognized she was in danger. She reported being afraid of Mr. Hobbs and his aggressive and controlling behavior. She reported being struck by Mr. Hobbs after she told him the relationship wasn't working out, and she did not know how to get him to leave her apartment, but she never contacted the police. The victim provided in-home care for a care-dependent person. After leaving for work at 5 p.m., she tried ending her relationship with Mr. Hobbs and told him he needed to leave her home. At approximately 8:49 p.m., Mr. Hobbs broke into her place of employment through a window and attacked her in the presence of a care-dependent person until Indiana Borough police officers kicked open the front door. Joining me in speaking today will be the District Attorney Robert Manzi and representatives of the Alice Paul House Chief Programs Officer Kayla Marshall, and Victim Advocate Natasha Leidick. We're all here to share a version of the same message. If you're the victim of domestic violence, tell someone. Seek help. You are not alone. Resources are available to you. Additionally, do not trust someone you meet online to be the person you expect or to have your best interests at heart. At this time, I'm going to first turn the podium over to Indiana County District Attorney Robert Manzi for comment and to speak on the criminal charges that were filed.
Thank you, Chief Schawl. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. First, I would like to commend the life-saving efforts of the Indiana Borough Police Department, the Indiana University of Pennsylvania Police Department, and members of Citizens Ambulance. Without their response, we could be here today discussing a homicide case and not an attempted homicide case. Second, I want to commend the staff of the Alice Paul House. Despite being late in the evening, their staff, who provide services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, were available to assist the victim and will remain available to provide a wide array of services throughout the course of this case and beyond. The defendant in this matter has been charged with several offenses. Count 1, attempted criminal homicide, a felony of the first degree. Count 2, aggravated assault, a felony of the first degree. Count 3, burglary of an occupied home with a person present, felony of the first degree. And count 4, possession of an instrument of crime, a misdemeanor of the first degree. Today, the defendant appeared before the Honorable Magisterial District Judge Robert Bell for his preliminary arraignment. Judge Bell denied the defendant bail due to the nature of the offenses. The defendant was remanded to the Indiana County Jail where he is currently housed. As of this time, I am not aware of any attorney who has been hired to represent the defendant. The defendant is scheduled to appear before Judge Bell for a preliminary hearing on February 4th, 2026 at 11:15 a.m. At that hearing, it is the duty of my office to prove a prima facie case for these charges. If Judge Bell finds the evidence is sufficient, the case will transfer to the Court of Common Pleas for potential trial. And as a reminder, with all defendants under our Constitution, the defendant remains innocent until proven guilty in court. Lastly, I want to echo the sentiments of Chief Schawl and of all the members of our law enforcement, members of our victim service employees, Alice Paul House, is that if you are a victim of a crime, if you believe you're a victim of a crime, you have members of law enforcement here ready, willing, and able to help you all hours of the day and the night, every day of the week. We have victim services that can provide counseling, housing for you, housing for pets, transportation, funds, security. However, none of the members in the law enforcement community or in our criminal justice system can do that unless you come forward and file your complaints with us. We can only address what's before us. And we urge you to not wait until it gets worse. All too often, when we receive a complaint, it is much later in the cycle of domestic violence than anybody would like it to be. Nobody has the right to assault you. Nobody has the right to dictate your movements, who you can socialize with, and any other controlling manners that we see in domestic violence cases. Please come forward as we're ready to help you. I'm going to turn the podium over to Chief Schawl.
Thank you, District Attorney Manzi. And now I'd like to turn the podium over to our friends at the Alice Paul House, Kayla Marshall, and Natasha Lighting.
Thank you, Chief Schawl. So the messages that you've heard so far, I think, speak to the community that we have here in Indiana. My job is to tell you, who is Alice Paul House? Alice Paul House is our sole victim services agency here in Indiana. Our trauma-informed advocates are experts in the field who provide compassion, advocacy, and support 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Meeting someone online, whether it's through a dating app, social media, gaming platforms, or other sites, can lead to meaningful connections. But it also opens that door to serious risk. When you allow that person deeper access into your life, emotionally, financially, or simply just with your physical presence, danger can appear. Our advocates are here for those individuals who feel alone, not heard, convinced that the abuse that they're enduring is their fault, or they're made to believe that the behaviors or actions of their offender are not dangerous. Our crisis hotline is always available. Victim survivors will be greeted by an empathetic, trained individual who will walk hand in hand with that person through their situation, the trauma, and then finally, their healing journey. If you or someone that you know needs help, please call us. Even if you're unsure of what the situation is or what it might lead to, learning more about victimization is how this community can further support our survivors. Our crisis hotline number is 724-349-4444. Thank you. Chief Schawl.
Thank you. As a last thought, I want to commend the officers from both the Indiana Borough Police Department and the IEP Police Department who responded to last night's incident. Split-second decisions and heroic efforts were undertaken by men and women in police uniform to save the life of one of our community members. I also want to thank Citizens Ambulance Service for their always excellent support and patient care. And I want to thank our District Attorney's Office for his support in all matters related to crime and crime victims. And finally, I'd like to thank and extend, again, commend the work of Indiana Borough criminal investigators. Our criminal investigative unit is comprised of excellent officers who work tenaciously to seek resolve to all criminal investigations. And it was through a combined effort of one team, albeit different uniforms, who were able to bring this case to rapid conclusion as safely as was possible. So I thank everyone for being in attendance today, and we'll field any questions that anyone may have.
Chief, talk about the, you mentioned it a couple of times, the cooperation between departments, between IEP, Indiana Borough, Citizens Ambulance Service in this effort. I know that you can't go into too much detail, but obviously you have a lot of pride in that cooperation.
Well, I have tremendous pride in the cooperation between agencies and also within each agency. We're all dedicated to the same mission, which is to keep our community as safe as possible. And we all work together in a way that our community can be proud of, and in a way that I, as the Chief of Police of the Indiana Borough Police Department, am extremely proud of. Okay, thank you all for attending.